You're listening to Slutty Society, a podcast exploring sex, sexuality, and all things in between.
Hey, yo, man, you really don't have to be out here like this broadcasting all your fucking porno shit.
Hey loves, what's up? I'm your host, Sheila J, and I am here to explore sex, sexuality, and all things in between. Thank you for being here to listen. It's been a minute for sure, but I am glad to be back for this new year. I hope you had a good end to your 2024. You know, I had to take some time to take care of myself mentally, emotionally, physically, just all around. Unfortunately, my mother passed away. I think I mentioned on here before that she had been diagnosed with cancer the summer before last. But I was notified this past fall she was going to be placed on hospice. I flew to the Midwest, stayed there for quite a bit of time, and during my trip, she passed away. So, yeah, I have been fucking grieving. It's definitely been a process, and the holidays for me this year, they were fucking horrible. I think there are so many emotions that go into losing someone you love. It's a roller coaster of feelings that can change on a daily, sometimes hourly basis. And this loss has been hard for me. You know, I have been here before losing my father, with losing my biological mother. Although I was younger during those losses, each hit me differently. And even though she technically was my stepmother, fuck that, she was my mom. I'll share something I don't really talk about much, not to anyone. Maybe I had some kind of shame about it or whatnot, but basically, my dad cheated on my stepmom with my biological mother. And I was born outside of their marriage. And I probably felt shame the majority of my life about that because, I was close to my father and he was my best friend. I never went without anything. I was a spoiled fucking brat. So I kind of held my dad on this pedestal. And I guess not sharing that dynamic was protecting him from judgment in a sense. But my stepmom, my mom, she never treated me any differently. I was her daughter, and I ended up living with her and my dad at some point when I was only a couple of years old. So she has been around in some capacity my entire life, or she had been around. So, yeah, I've been dealing with the loss of my mother. I think I haven't completely fallen apart with this experience because of the work I put into myself the last few years with therapy that I continue to do. And I think when it comes to therapy, some people assume it's an instant fix. You go to a therapist, they solve everything for you, it's fucking easy. But it's continuous work. You're basically given the tools to navigate different situations in life better, the tools to undo trauma, and so on. These tools are provided to you, but you actually have to do the work to help yourself. So, even with therapy, I am still struggling with this loss. I might smile on the outside, I might still look put together, but inside, internally, I am in a lot of pain. And I have my moments, mostly when I'm alone, where I allow myself to cry. It's very overwhelming at times. And watching someone, especially a parent, take their last breath. Now, for the second time in my life, it is a memory I don't wish upon anyone. I went through the same thing with my dad where I was there when he passed away. So it kind of gets burned into your brain. It makes things a little bit harder. I think one thing I'm really struggling with is not being able to call her. I mean, I'm still picking up the phone at times to tell her things. then it really hits. For example, I was doing some home stuff the other day, weatherproofing my patio door because we are in rain season here in Portland, and just something like that. I would call her for all of these little things. I would ask for her advice or her opinion, or, ask her about her day or tell her about my day, or she would tell me what the gossip was there in the Midwest. And, my days are feeling pretty empty without her presence, without her existence. She was also my emergency contact for everything. I recently had a situation where I needed to add an emergency contact and I just left it blank. I honestly didn't know who to put. When it comes to family, I've talked about that on here before. I'm pretty estranged from my family. So she was really that last solid connection I had outside of being a mother myself. And even with that, being a parent, I still have this responsibility to keep my shit fucking together right now. I'm still needed. It's a lot of pressure to have to kind of control my grief process, like wait to cry in my car when I go to run errands, or even though I'm having days where I don't feel like getting out of bed, I just want to lay there and cry, but I also have to appear strong as a mom, as a parent. Now, I did take a leave of absence from work. It definitely didn't feel like enough time. And since I've been back working, I feel incredibly detached. I'm kind of, I guess, on autopilot in a sense. With grief, I know it's going to take time. When someone you love dies, it's not like you ever get over their death. You just get to this place where you're able to cope with living life without that person. But there's always this void of them no longer being there. And I have to allow myself to feel, to cry, to be angry, to be numb at times. I just have to go through all of the phases. And I've been thinking a lot, thinking about my life so fucking much since this happened. What do I want to do next? What do I want to change? Am I still on the same trajectory, the same course that I had planned before all of this happened? I feel a lot of things shifting within me. I've already recognized some of that change and I've been making so many adjustments to my life. And I think that's normal when you experience a big life event. Even though I'm dealing with grief, I have to get back to some kind of joy. That's what my mom would have wanted. Although she didn't listen to my podcast, thank fucking goodness. I say some really wild shit on here sometimes, but my mom knew I had a sex podcast. She was very positive about me doing it and always uplifted me in general as the free spirit I am. I think I'll always be appreciative of her genuine, unconditional support of me, and I'll definitely miss that. Now, going through the grief process, something I realized is that I've been looking for ways to distract myself to keep my mind busy. Almost like, yeah, I'm sad, but I'm going to fake some kind of happiness until it's real. I don't know if shopping is a side effect of grief, but I have been borderline out of control. Jewelry, new kitchen appliances, clothes, home decor, home organizers, just any and every fucking thing I can buy. And I'm not gonna lie, I've probably bought between Thanksgiving and present day maybe 60 something fucking candles from Bath and Body Works. It's crazy. Amazon's at my house every day. I stay on Wayfair and I'm practically living at the mall. It's really bad. I need to get it together. Now, another means of distraction I've taken on lately is I am trying to say yes to more social invites. I haven't decided if this is good or bad just yet. The introverted part of me is like, bitch, just stay home. You have this comfy bed. There's no need to put on a bra, just binge a new show from one of these 745 streaming apps you have a subscription for. Fuck people, right? But no, I've been pushing myself to go around other people to try to have a little fun. It's the weirdest thing though. When you're grieving, sometimes you feel guilty for having fun, like it isn't allowed. It's a complete mind fuck, but you have to keep reminding yourself it's okay to live life, to enjoy life, especially after loss. So, additionally, I've been going on some dates. I've been accepting what I'd like to call distractions. When I was in the Midwest, fresh in my grief, I had people taking me out left and right. I kind of slowed down, spaced them out somewhat since I returned home. But when I was in the Midwest, some days I had multiple dates with different people within the same day. It almost got to the point where I felt like I was in some type of dating reality TV show or game show. Welcome to another episode of Who Wants My Sad Pussy? A show where contestants prey on my vulnerability, grief, and inability to make smart decisions because, well, emotionally, I'm a hot mess. Um, it sounds fucked up, I know. Who knew sad vagina was a magnet for dick? I mean, I had people reaching out to me during my grief offering all kinds of dick. I'm sorry for your loss, Sheila. I'm here for you. Anything you need, I will be there for you. I wish I could make you feel better. I wish I could hug you right now. You know what I think you might need? You know what I think will make you feel so much better?
This dick.
So many dick offerings, but I do want to share a kind of sexual experience I had during my time in the Midwest. And usually I do this at the end of the episode, but fuck it, it's 2025 and it's time to switch some shit up. So let me tell you a story. This story is about someone I want to refer to as Mileage Bay because he drove pretty far across state lines to see me on a couple of occasions during my Midwest trip. Now, Mileage Bay and I had sex a few times during my early 20s, and back then the sex with him was good. So, naturally, by our second hangout in the present, with me being sad, having sad pussy, and being emotionally a hot fucking mess, I started entertaining thoughts in my head about revisiting his dick. I started thinking about how it was doing, just a simple, hey, how have you been down there? Have you knocked out any walls recently? Just me checking in on an old friend. So Mileage Bay and I go eat at this Spanish restaurant. It had a nice ambiance, dimly lit, lots of candles, a mood, right? The food was on point too. I'm feeling sexy and looking sexy. I have on this lingerie top with a blazer, jeans, cute heels, just all done up. And I had not had sex since summertime, which I'll talk more about later in the episode, but we go to a few more spots after the restaurant. There was good energy between us. We were getting a ton of compliments from random strangers. And the longer we hung out that night, I thought about fucking him even more. There was a lot of sexual tension between us. And I could tell he was trying to be respectful because of what I was going through. I knew I would have to initiate things for anything to move forward. So I placed my hand on his thigh, looked him in the
You ain't gotta
eyes.
say too much from the look in your eyes. I can tell you wanna fuck.
I hoped he was receiving what I was giving, which he did. We ended up leaving soon after. Fast forward. Now it's just the two of us. I'm sitting up. I have my top pulled down, breast out. He's licking, kissing, sucking on them like they're flavored. In the meantime, I'm unbuttoning my jeans. I want to feel his dick so bad, right? But first, he wants to eat my pussy, and me being the good person I am, I'm not going to deny someone who is hungry. So he eats it like it's the last meal he's going to have, death row style, and it was amazing. Some of the best head I've ever had, probably top three, I'd say. I didn't have to give him any directions. He was in tune with my body, with my movements. He ate my pussy until I came. Now, of course, I'm even more excited to feel him inside of me. I just knew our sex was going to be on point. Let's get to the fucking. But within a matter of maybe not even a minute, he pulls out and comes. I tell him it's cool, it's okay. He assures me we can try again. It's been a minute. My pussy is so good. Whatever. I get him hard again. Let's go. I'm horny. I have sad pussy. I need this. I need to fuck. He puts his dick in me once again, and once again, he pulls out and comes in a matter of seconds.
Oh, no. No.
All right. So before I dive in further, I just want to shout out the new countries my podcast has now reached. I wanted to give a thank you for people listening in Mexico, Croatia, Qatar, Austria, and I'm probably going to pronounce this one wrong, but the country of Slovenia. Actually, you know what? I haven't heard of this country before. Let me look it up really quick. I'm a nerd. I need to know where this is. Let's see. Okay. Slovenia, a country in Central Europe, is known for its mountains, ski resorts, and lakes. It borders Italy to the west, Austria to the north, Hungary to the northeast, Croatia to the south and southeast, and a short coastline within the Adriatic Sea to the southwest, which is part of the Mediterranean Sea. The more shit you know, loves. Welcome, listeners in Slovenia and the other countries I mentioned. All right, moving on. So, before my encounter with Mileage Bay, I hadn't had sex since early summertime, since I ended things with Engineer Bay. Engineer Bay and I were having consistent sex. I had become used to having a healthy, highly active sex life with another person. Going from that type of consistent sex, great sex, to not having partner sex at all, I have to admit it was initially hard. Of course, I was masturbating to fill the void, but I was coming from a situation where I could openly express myself sexually, where I could be creative and act out any fantasy that popped into my head with someone, to no longer having that. I became very sexually frustrated because it was a sudden change, a drastic change, and a change that was on the other end of the scale, right? I found myself moving that energy into workouts, so exercising more, hiking more, just trying to find some kind of release. A tiny part of me felt a little unhinged, I have to admit. And sure, it wouldn't have been hard for me to find someone to have sex with. I could go out to a coffee shop and catch a dick or a vagina, let's be clear. But as you age, as you get older, at least for me, I want good fucking sex. Now that I'm comfortable with my sexuality, now that I know my wants, my needs, what I don't like, what I do, and I'm able to express that, I want to make sure, or at least try to make sure, that I'm compatible with someone sexually. I think about specifically in my 20s, not knowing what I know about sex now because of either miseducation or the way society teaches us about sex. I had sex with some people I probably wouldn't have had sex with now, to be honest. There were a lot of times when I didn't know what I was doing or didn't know how to truly connect with a person sexually. And I think some of the people I had sex with in the past didn't know how to do that either. When I think about those memories, I realize I actually wasn't pleased from some of that sex. Some of it wasn't what I consider to be good sex now. And here in the present, of course, I have options, but I just crave a deeper connection, and that's harder to find. So, going back to when I was kind of unhinged initially, when going from consistent good sex to no sex at all or no partner sex at all, during this time frame, you would have thought I was in the midst of some sort of apocalypse. I mean, shit, I was Will Smith in I Am Legend. But instead of being alone with my dog, I was alone with my vibrator Pinky, dramatically counting down the days and keeping a log to track how long it had been since I had human sexual interaction. Day 27. In the middle of masturbating, Pinky's battery died. Having to get out of bed and put Pinky on the charger killed the mood. I didn't come. Day 35. I've used Pinky's setting number 6 so many times this week, I'm afraid my vagina has become desensitized to my favorite vibration rhythm. I tried to use my fingers, but the effects were not the same. Day 378,002 and a half. While my sexual relationship with Pinky has grown stronger in some ways, I fear that the absence of having my ass smacked has made me slightly resentful towards him. Man, I'm not gonna lie, it was a rough time at first, but eventually I got used to not having regular partner sex. I think throughout life, no matter if you're single or if you're in whatever type of partnership, your sex life is going to change. There will be ups and downs, there will be phases. Hopefully, you figure out ways to adjust as those changes happen. And that's also going to depend on how important sex is to you or how you value sex in your life, which is going to be different for every person. For me, ideally, I would Burger King my sex life. Have it my way. I'd have sex every day, a couple of times a day if possible. Now, I also live in reality. I know there are going to be times where it's just me and Pinky buzzing it out, time periods where my browser history is filled with gangbangs and oily lesbian massages, and that's okay. I can adjust, I'm capable of adapting. But I tell you, the universe works in mysterious ways because just when I started to feel settled, just when I mellowed out from my unhinged stage and my masturbation routine was all set, Engineer Bay resurfaced.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
We hadn't talked since summer, and he reached out to me out of the blue not too long ago. So, first, I definitely made it a priority to address that behavior that led me to cut him off previously, that jealous, aggressive energy. I made it clear I'm not an object, I'm not property, I'm not someone's possession. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you took some time to think about your actions and that you can act accordingly if you want to be in my life. There won't be a repeat of this allowed. I definitely think you have to teach people how to treat you, but if they continue to make the same mistakes, why waste your time? Time is too precious, life is too short and too special. So, yeah, we're hanging out again. And by hanging out, I mean I've fallen on his dick several times. It's because he has comfortable dick. And you're probably wondering what I mean. What is this comfortable dick you speak of? I simply mean it's dick I know. Dick I don't have to learn. Dick I know what to do with. I know what turns this dick on. I know what feels good to this dick. I know what this dick likes and doesn't like. And just as important, this dick knows me just as well, right? This dick can read my body like a book. This dick can easily follow instructions. So if I tell this dick no anal, this dick doesn't accidentally keep finding its way to my ass. When I say go slower to the right, this dick doesn't go faster and try to knock out the left side of my vagina walls. This dick genuinely wants to make me feel good. And I know I hit you with a lot of dick in the last few seconds. My apologies. But comfortable dick. Comfortable dick is the best dick. When I'm fucking it, I feel confident, relaxed, and secure. It's easy. Now, honestly, we fell back into the sex we previously had quite naturally. We have this strong sexual connection, but we also have great communication when it comes to expressing sexual wants and sexual needs. I believe that's a really important thing when you have a sexual relationship with someone. You need to be able to communicate and talk about your likes, your dislikes, what turns you on, even those hidden fantasies that might be tucked away in the back of your brain. And it's beyond just being able to communicate or speak about this stuff. You have to be able to speak about it with your partner without being shamed, without being met with a reaction that is hurtful or harmful. Sure, we all aren't going to be into the same shit sexually, I realize that. But if someone is expressing their desires to you, that takes a lot of vulnerability because we already live in a society that is so fucked up when it comes to sex. And if someone is met with almost a sense of disgust after expressing themselves, it's going to make it harder for them to tell you their feelings related to sex again. It creates this fear or a sense of anxiety surrounding having these kinds of conversations with their partner. Talking about sex then becomes uncomfortable. Then you end up with a dynamic where, sure, you're having sex, but is it good sex? Are both people's needs being met? And just because someone tells you a desire or something they're into, it doesn't mean you have to do it. It doesn't mean you're going to be interested in it. But if you talk about it further, if you try to understand the why behind it, what makes your sexual partner interested in this particular thing, you're creating opportunities to make your sex better, even if you aren't implementing that exact thing that was brought up. And sometimes certain things that turn people on aren't things that they necessarily want to do. I think watching porn provides a good example in those cases. I watch a lot of gangbang porn. I do, I admit it, it's one of my favorite things to search when I'm watching porn. To be clear, I'm not into the violent kind or the kind that seems abusive to the woman involved. Just a good old fashioned normal gangbang video, a bunch of bros having sex with a hoe. So sharing that I'm into gangbang videos, there might be people that assume I want to be a part of a gangbang. But in reality, if you dig a little deeper, if you ask me, why do I like gangbang videos? It isn't because I want to be in a gangbang. I like watching them because the woman is the center of attention. She is the main attraction. In the fantasy world of porn, she is being touched all over while she's being pleasured. That's what's turning me on about it. That's what I'm getting off to. I'm not really caring about guy number 5 waiting his turn to get into her pussy, or guy number 7 who's awkwardly standing to the side poking her cheek with his dick. Sir, get into formation like everyone else. I don't know, massage her breast, rub her thigh. The cheek poking is irrelevant. There's already a dick in her mouth. You're being counterproductive to the situation. But if I'm having a conversation with a sexual partner telling them I am into gangbang porn, we should be able to openly communicate about what that means, what turns me on about it, without shame being involved, without all of these inaccurate assumptions. That builds trust in your sexual relationship. So essentially, you feel more comfortable opening up. It makes your sexual connection better. And ultimately, with that kind of trust, your sex is better. That's the ideal situation, right? And as I said before, society in general is really fucked up when it comes to sex. There are a lot of conflicting perspectives. There are people who are uneducated about it. There are people who haven't worked on their own internal hangups about sex, which causes a lot of projection. And that perpetuates the cycle of people being in relationships, partnerships, marriages, and not knowing how to communicate about sex. I find that to be really unfortunate, but it is a reality for a lot of people. Okay, loves, I think I want to move on to something else. Let's do some in the media.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you some breaking news.
In the media is where I find an article, news report, or story related to sex and or sexuality. Health Canada issued a recall for Nice Dream vibrating bullet with remote ring because the plastic can crack, allowing the end cap to come off the main section of the vibrator, causing an internal injury. Consumers should immediately stop using the recalled Nice Dream vibrating bullet with remote ring, destroy and dispose of it, the health agency warned in the recall notice. To obtain a refund, consumers can contact BMS Enterprises. A nice dream has turned into a nightmare. I'm imagining someone having a good time, enjoying their afternoon, using this nice dream vibrator in their pussy, maybe in their ass. The article wasn't specific about where the injuries are taking place, but they're in their pleasure zone. Then all of a sudden, the vibrator cracks, the end cap comes off and shoots deep inside of them to infinity and fucking beyond.
I was definitely like 3 years single, and so I had become like addicted to masturbation. I ordered like a vibrator. It was like blue and it had like 3 balls and a little bitty vibrator on it, and I was so excited. As soon as I got it in the mail, I was like, oh, I'm done, I'm going to take a bath, and I was just gonna relax. I never would have thought my butt was like a vacuum. What normal person thinks, like I thought there was like a wall or something, to keep things from that, like,
All right, these next couple of stories take place in the great state of Wisconsin. A Racine, Wisconsin man was arrested after reportedly engaging in inappropriate behavior at a grocery store in Kenosha County. Police say the incident occurred at a Piggly Wiggly located on the 2800 block of 14th Place in Kenosha. Officers reported to a call just after 2 p.m., reporting a man allegedly engaged in lewd acts inside the store. Store employees initially suspected the man of attempting to shoplift. However, upon closer observation, it became apparent he was involved in inappropriate behavior. Authorities report the individual, later identified as 32-year-old Tyree Carter, allegedly ejaculated on the store floor before leaving the premises. Hopefully they put out that caution while wet floor sign. We don't need anyone slipping and falling on cum. Following an investigation, Carter was taken into custody by Racine police. He now faces one misdemeanor charge. This unusual and concerning event has raised questions about safety and awareness in public places. Well, my next story is going to add to that because it's not safe out here.
New video is something you probably don't want to see, but that's what we're here for.
I love how the news reporter is like, you probably don't want to see this shit, but we're going to show it anyways.
2 people accused of having sex inside a Waukesha laundromat. Don't worry, we have blurred this. And I mean, we did a really good job blurring this. This is video early morning, Christmas Eve. You can see the man and the woman covered up under blankets doing the deed. Other people are inside the laundromat.
Oh, no.
In this video, there's literally someone sitting on the other side of them, minding their business, waiting for their laundry to dry with their Tide Pods on the table.
Prosecutors say that is Karen Hale and Desmond Cleveland on your screen. There they are, both now charged with disorderly conduct. Investigators say this is the same couple that's accused of having sex inside the lobby of the Waukesha County Jail last May.
That's right. They are repeat offenders. And speaking of repeat offenders, I have a story involving a repeat offender in Florida.
Oh, man, that's Florida right there. Yeah, dang right.
A Florida woman has been arrested for the second time in 2 years following a domestic altercation involving a sex toy. Chelsea White, 35, found herself in police custody after a dispute with her boyfriend in their Fort Pierce home. The argument began when White's boyfriend discovered his missing glass sex toy inside of her backpack while the two were in the kitchen preparing to eat. According to the police report, an argument broke out, leading to a physical confrontation where both parties exchanged blows. Okay, so I'm low-key mad that this article doesn't tell us the exact sex toy that is causing these two to punch the shit out of each other. I want to know what it is so I can order it because it must be amazing. After a brief separation, White allegedly resumed the altercation when her boyfriend attempted to retrieve the backpack. During the scuffle, while reportedly throwing the glass sex toy at her boyfriend, missing him but hitting a door which woke up their child. I imagine this kid just sleeping, dreaming about superheroes and shit, and he awakes to this loud thud on his door. And, this is normal for them. So he's like, oh, it must be mama throwing daddy's dildo again. Following the incident, White took the bag and left the residence. Authorities later found her and arrested her for domestic battery. She is currently being held at the county jail with a $1,000 bond. The boyfriend also told officers that this was not the first time White had been arrested over a similar incident. He recounted a previous altercation in late 2022 when a dispute over a handbag and another sex toy escalated into violence. During that argument, White had refused to return a sex toy to the victim, claiming ownership, which led to a physical assault. She was convicted of battery and sentenced to 12 months probation, as well as ordered to pay $800 in fines and attend a mandatory intervention program. This recent arrest marks the second time White has faced charges of domestic battery related to a sex toy. Look, I don't know if these two just need to have a lawyer draft an agreement on which dildo belongs to who or what, but we have to stop these domestic dildo disturbances. It's getting out of hand and I'm worried. Okay, one more. Ever wonder which countries have the biggest penises? Well, you're in luck. Scientists have tallywhacker. Wait a minute, just let me stop for a second. If a man ever referred to his dick as a tallywhacker to me, my pussy would dry up like the Sahara Desert. Researchers reviewed existing studies from around the world that measured penis sizes by health professionals. The one caveat was that many measurements were self reported, meaning they could have been slightly well inflated. So we know this list might not be accurate, but I'm going to entertain it anyways. All right, the top 10 penis lengths by country. Number 10 is Cameroon. Number 9, Colombia. 8, Lebanon. 7, Venezuela. 6, Nigeria. 5, Ghana. 4, Republic of the Congo. 3, Ecuador. 2, Democratic Republic of Congo. And number 1, the biggest penises are located in the Sudan. There's a mention of the US coming in at 68th place with an average penis size of 5.57 inches.
It's lies. It's all lies.
Well, all right, if anything, this article helped me decide where I'd like to plan future trips to. I'm wondering what ticket prices to the Democratic Republic of the Congo look like this time of year. All right, so I want to get into some end of the year stuff from 2024, including the Pornhub year in review. But first, I think I'll go over my sex wish list for 2024. There were 5 items on there I wanted to cross off from last year. Let me pull them up and see. And let me turn off my notifications. All right, so number 1 on my list, I had phone sex. I hadn't done it in a while, and I was able to check this off my list. It is continuing into 2025, so yay fucking me. Number 2, I had a role play where we pretend we don't know each other and just met. Did this with Engineer Bay. I think I'll share this story on a different episode. Number 3, I had vibrating panties that can be remote controlled. I didn't get to do this one. And you know what? I'm going to look online, order some so I have them handy. I'll have to add this to my list for 2025. All right, number 4 was bondage. I was able to check this one off as well. I talked about it on a different episode. And number 5, last on my list, was consistent sex, great sex with someone who not only appreciates my body, but my brain as well. And I got this for at least half of the year, so that counts, right? 4 out of 5, or maybe 3.5 out of 5, not too bad. Now my list, my sex wish list for 2025. So 1, since I didn't get to try vibrating panties, I'll add that. I'll attempt it for this year. Number 2, I think I would like to watch someone have sex. Not on a porn, not at a sex club, but in person in a intimate setting. Obviously, I've had threesomes before, but I don't want to be involved. I just want to sit there, be a voyeur, maybe masturbate while 2 people go at it. Yeah, I will say long ago, a friend and I were at her apartment. She invited these 2 guys over, and her and one of the guys started having sex. The guy's friend and I watched for a little bit, but then we left the room and just hung out, watched TV. So close, but not exactly. Okay, number 3. I think I'll throw a simple one on here. I'd like to try a sex pillow. Surprisingly, I haven't used one during sex, but I'd like to try it out, see how much of a difference it makes hitting certain angles. Okay, number 4, in 2025, I want to do sex painting, where you paint each other's body, ideally while laying on a canvas, which is the only way I'm going to try it for easy cleanup. Um, but essentially painting each other's bodies, moving around, touching each other on the canvas, and then this one's a little more intimate. I feel like this would turn me on and I would be into the way it feels for someone to paint my body. Now, last, number 5, since I got into bondage this last year, I do want to explore that more. And it just so happens that I saw this hot bondage scene in this Netflix series. It's called Fake Profile. It's Colombian, but I watch it with the voiceovers, and they just added season 2 not that long ago. It's a very dramatic show. Everyone's super sexy. There's a lot of fucking, a lot of passion, murder, a lot of crazy. um, but in season 2, there's a scene where one of the main characters, Angela, who, by the way, her ass, oh my fucking goodness. Anytime they have a scene with her in a swimsuit and a thong, I love it. I would bite her ass. Like, it is the best ass. I have tunnel vision when her ass is on the TV. I am fully distracted. Let me calm down. Anyways, there's a sex scene where the character Angela is being bound by rope by her neighbor. So essentially, he is wrapping her upper body with this rope and she's being very submissive. The bondage technique he's using is shibari rope bondage. It's a Japanese bondage technique and it was so sexy. I actually ordered a book about it after watching that sex scene. So that is my number 5 to try shibari rope bondage. Now, you'll have to wish me luck on crossing everything off of my sex wish list for the year. I feel like it's doable, so fingers crossed. Okay, loves, the moment I'm sure you've been waiting for. I am going to share some facts from Pornhub's 2024 year in review.
Let's make us a porno movie.
Let's see what people were looking at, what they were into for this last year. There's a ton of information here. I'm not going to go through it all, but I picked a couple of items to share. So, first, I will go with top searched terms around the world for 2024. I'll go from the last one to first place. So we have teacher, BBW, squirt, real amateur, JOI, which stands for jerk off instructions, point of view, 3D, wife, BBC, gangbang, trans, blowjob, ebony, cosplay, massage, big tits, animation, threesome, cream pie, stepmom, Asian, Latina, Japanese, anime, big ass, anal, lesbian, Pine, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it refers to Filipino women, and then MILF, and the number 1 most searched term around the world for 2024 is hentai, which is Japanese manga anime sex. And apparently it's been number 1 for the last 4 years in a row. Now, specific to the US, so for the United States only, the most searched terms for 2024 were number 5, ebony, number 4, Asian, number 3, MILF, number 2, Latina, and coming in at number 1 for the most searched terms in the United States for 2024 is again hentai, just like it was for all over the globe. All right, let's look at some women versus men. So they have information listed for the 15 most viewed categories by gender. So let's start with men's favorites first. So French, big dick, cream pie, Asian, big tits, amateur, hentai, threesome, lesbian, transgender, ebony, anal, mature, MILF, and the number one category for men on Pornhub in 2024 is Japanese. All right, now when it comes to women's favorites, the categories searched were bisexual male, Brazilian, gangbang, cream pie, big dick, popular with women, transgender, ebony, hentai, mature, threesome, anal, MILF, Japanese. And the number one category for 2024 on Pornhub for women's favorites is one of my favorites, lesbian. Oh man, there's so much information here. Okay, I'll do a couple more. So, how about most searched movies and characters on Pornhub? Starting from the bottom, we have Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy, then John Wick, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, Justice League, Magic Mike, Joker, Star Trek, Batgirl, Captain Marvel, Hulk, Superman, Power Rangers. Instead of it's morphine time, it's jacking off time, apparently. I imagine Power Ranger porn has that dramatic 90s fighting music in the background. Shrek 365 Days, which is a very sexual movie on Netflix. Elastigirl, Princess Leia, Wolverine, Catwoman, Spider-Man, Batman, Deadpool, Black Widow, Incredibles, Wonder Woman, Harry Potter, because you probably have people out there wondering, hey, what all can that magic wand do? Um, Avatar, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and the number one most searched movie or character on Pornhub in 2024 was Harley Quinn. Okay, and the last thing I'll share is top categories by age ranges. So for people 55 plus, their top categories are bisexual male, fingering, vintage, BBW, handjob, double penetration, gangbang, and strap-on.
Freaky.
Okay, ages 35 to 54, which would be my age range since I'm 37. So we have transgender, threesome, ebony, fisting, blonde, feet, roleplay, and compilation. So my generation is all over the fucking place. Okay, ages 25 to 34, their top categories are fetish, brunette, Japanese, romantic. Aw, that's sweet. Popular with women, parody, tattooed women, and FMM, which is basically one female and two males. And then last, ages 18 to 24, they have SFW. What's SFW? Hold on, I have to look that up. SFW, safe for work, means you can open it on your screen at work. Oh, I didn't realize that was a category. What porn's safe to open at work? And why are you guys watching porn at work? All right. But okay, safe for work, music, cartoon, virtual reality, cosplay, gaming, hentai, and vertical video. Okay, I think I'll stop there. I do want to start wrapping this episode up. I have some listener feedback. I know there were people that reached out to me asking when the next episode was, if I was no longer doing the podcast, etc. I believe I responded to all of those people individually. I won't read those on the episode. Thank you to anyone that reached out, gave a shit about what happened to me, and that missed my podcast. I went away for a minute, but I'm back like a case of herpes. So, Theo, who wrote me from London, says, glad you had a chance to visit the UK. Hopefully, you'll be back. I can make some recommendations. I'll definitely be back. I have another trip planned to visit again. I'm super excited. So, yes, please send me any recommendations of places to go, things to see, art, food, fun. Send it all for sure. Thank you. My boo Danielle from Oakland says, I was rooting for you in Engineer Bay. Sorry that situation came to an end. Obviously, that has changed since Danielle wrote this. She also asked, does Engineer Bay or anyone else you've told a story about listen to your podcast? If so, are they bothered or what do they think of it? I will say there are some people I've told a story about who listen to my podcast. I don't think anyone has necessarily been bothered or they haven't voiced that to me. The people who have been bothered are people that don't actually listen to my podcast. They just see, oh, it's a sex podcast and make 101 assumptions about me or what type of content I must be creating. You know, they probably have their own internal hangups about sex, about women, about whatever. I don't really give a fuck. Get some therapy. When it comes to Engineer Bay, he does listen to my podcast sometimes. He doesn't care if I talk about our situation, but he would never get on here and talk about it with me. I've asked him before. So he's from a very traditional religious family, was actually married before. I think he finds me interesting because I embody probably the absolute opposite of most things he was taught. So even though we have great sex, great communication about sex, his upbringing has made him somewhat conservative. He wouldn't be a person that can publicly express themselves sexually the way I do. Okay. Jazz wrote, thank you for bringing up the difficulties making genuine connections these days and people being easily disposable. I myself have felt the same way and witnessed this time after time. I put a lot of blame on social media for this. So I talked about that in my episode Sexual Healing, and I do agree that social media and people being easily accessible is a large part of why this has happened. I think about my generation, we experienced both sides of this. I'm 37 and I was brought up in what I like to call the before times, before social media existed, before it became what it is now. We went outside more, we talked on the phone more. Texting didn't start until later in high school for me, but even then, it wasn't as big as it is now. Everyone wasn't super accessible. It was a time where you actually had to put in effort to build relationships of any kind or to get to know people. Social media kind of blew up when I was in college. Back then, I don't think anyone thought about the impact it would have on mental health, on social interactions, the impact it would have on social and communication skills. All right, next, I have a comment from a friend of mine who started out by saying, bitch, don't use my name on here. This is anonymous. But she says, I'm glad you brought up eating ass in your last episode. I enjoy it too, but it always feels weird to openly talk about. I think you're onto something regarding society being homophobic and how it impacts how we speak or think about sexual activities involving the ass. Thanks for your comment, friend. Society just needs to let us do anal activities in peace. Is that too much to ask for? I don't know. Ruve says, your story about the woman and the bathtub sex was interesting. Sounds like something from a porn. Did you actually enjoy that? You know what? At the time, I didn't mind it. It was kind of fun, kind of sexy. If anything, her personality became hard to enjoy. She constantly bragged to me about her money and her finances. And that's a big turn off for me. Someone who constantly reminds you of their money or the car they have or the things they have. I don't give a shit. But that was also the first time or my first experience feeling like I was some kind of fetish to someone as a Black woman. And I've dated people from all different types of ethnic backgrounds and never experienced that before until this woman. She was also biracial. So she was half Black, half white, but she had only been with white women before. She constantly made these weird comments. For example, we'd kiss and she'd make a comment about how different my lips were. She'd make sure to clarify she was saying it in a good way, but it just felt odd. Or she would comment about loving the color of my skin and almost obsessing over it, then bringing up how it compares to white skin. I don't know. Shit was mad weird and happened way too many times for my liking. I just couldn't continue to listen to that shit regardless of how good that sex was. Nope. Okay, last question from listeners. Chad says, you clearly watch a lot of shows. What were some of your favorites from last year, or do you have any recommendations? Let's see. I do watch a lot of shit, a variety of shit. Let me see. Okay, series wise, this last year, I really enjoyed a new series on Netflix called White Doves. It's a spy thriller with Keira Knightley. It takes place in London. The action is good, the characters are great, and I think they did a good job of the way the story unfolds because, you think you figured it out, but it isn't necessarily what you thought it would be in the beginning. I guess I'll say that without giving too much away. I also got into a show that comes on, I believe, MGM's streaming app, which I have through Prime. It's called From. It's a horror kind of sci-fi series. It's very gory, high anxiety. There's always something crazy going on, and I loved it. There are 3 seasons so far. I think they're working on season 4, but yeah, that show's pretty dope. What else? Oh, yeah. Another show I got into that's on MGM, another horror sci fi series, is The Midwich Cuckoo's Village of the Damned. It's a show with crazy murderous kids in this town, and it only has 1 season so far, but it spans over, or season 1 spans over several years. It's pretty good. And another series that has been on my list for a minute, season 2 actually just came out or just started, but I finally started watching the Apple TV series Severance, thanks to my friend Joanna for recommending it. Now I am hooked. I'm waiting for a few episodes to build on season 2 because it's a weekly show. Season 1, the complete season, is available though. I highly recommend it. The actor Ben Stiller is actually a producer and a director for the show. It's basically about a group of people that work for a company that implants them with a device that makes it to where you forget your work life when you're at home, and when you're at work, you have no idea who you are in your personal life. So essentially, it's like you're 2 different people, and there's a lot to figure out about the company. about what's really happening and so on. But yeah, I think all of those shows would be standouts for me from this last year. Maybe there's more. I consume so many shows that I fucking forget what I watch half of the time. All right. I have talked so fucking much. I think I'm going to go ahead and end this episode. Again, I am happy to be back. I look forward to seeing what 2025 is going to bring. And as always, thank you for listening. Bye, loves.